From the Southwest Network of Radio Nigeria, the time is 2 o'clock.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the midweek edition of the news on the World Today. It is the Southwest Network program of Radio Nigeria, Ibadan Zonal Station, comprising news and feature. In the lineup, NIS deploys technology against irregular migration. Edo government orders closure of 3 secondary schools. Coming from the foreign scenes, anti-immigration protests break out in Northern Ireland. Indonesia jails 4 military officers for acid attack on activists. Heart of the matter is on checking the menace of drug abuse, while the feature is on Agbo Kim waterfall. My name is Feyishara Owomoyela. Reading with me is
Stephen Agbaje. Good afternoon and welcome. You can listen to us on live stream www.radionigeriaibadan.gov.ng or follow us on X, Instagram and Facebook at PFM935 Ibadan. In this raining season, avoid dumping refuse in waterways. Now the news in detail. The Nigerian Immigration Service, NIS, has strengthened its border security through advanced technology deployment and enhanced surveillance to curb irregular migration and migrant smuggling across the country's borders. The Service Public Relations Officer, SPRO, Mr. Akinshola Akinlabi, who disclosed this in an interview with newsmen in Abuja, attributed the achievements to sustained border patrol operations and surveillance mechanisms. The NIS spokesman also explained that the service border surveillance architecture was designed to monitor difficult and remote terrains that may be inaccessible to personnel. He said the surveillance infrastructure had enabled the service to identify routes frequently used for irregular migration and strategically deploy assets to such locations. He noted that the service mandate in the area focused on border security and the prevention of migrant smuggling.
The first batch of Nigerian nationals to be evacuated from South Africa is expected to arrive in Lagos State tomorrow. According to the updates provided by the spokesperson, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Kimiebi Ebiemfa, a plane will depart the Oliver Tambo International Airport in Johannesburg today with 268 people. Mr. Ebiemfa said the federal government has fully funded the evacuation exercise, as all affected Nigerians would be repatriated at no cost to them. He assured Nigerians that the federal government, through relevant ministries, departments and agencies, has put in place necessary reception and support arrangements for the would-be returnees.
President Bola Tinubu says his administration remained focused on delivering tangible benefits to Nigerians through the Renewed Hope agenda. The president stated this in Abuja at a news conference as part of activities commemorating the 2026 Democracy Day. Represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation and Chairman of the Interministerial Committee for Democracy Day 2026, Senator George Akume, President Tinubu noted that reforms in key sectors of the economy are already yielding measurable results. The president described Nigeria's 27 years of uninterrupted democratic governance as a major national achievement and a testament to the resilience of the Nigerian people and democratic institutions. Addressing the conference, Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Muhammad Idris, said President Bola Tinubu is committed to building a stronger, more inclusive and prosperous Nigeria. Alhaji Idris posited that Democracy Day remained a significant occasion for reflecting on Nigeria's democratic journey, celebrating the resilience of democratic institutions and honoring the sacrifices of patriots who fought to entrench democratic governance in the country.
The Ekiti state continues to witness significant infrastructural development with the completion of a second overhead by the administration of Governor Abiodun Oyebanji. President Bola Tinubu, represented by Vice President Senator Kashim Shettima, inaugurated the new flyover in Ado Ekiti, and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC office, and performed the groundbreaking ceremony for the Ekiti State Knowledge Zone along the Ado-Ijon Road. Our correspondent Olaniyi Alade, who covered the events at various locations across the state, reports that the Vice President was received by the Ekiti State Governor Abiodun Oyebanji, senior government officials, traditional rulers, and other stakeholders.
Speaking at the groundbreaking of Ekiti Knowledge Zone, commissioning of the overhead bridge, and opening of the EFCC office in Ado Ekiti, Vice President Kashim Shettima, on behalf of President Bola Tinubu, commended Ekiti State government for its commitment to infrastructure, human capital development, with promise that the federal government will not relent in its effort to deliver the dividend of good governance to all Nigerians.
I want to commend the President because this project was completely funded by state resources, which is a reflection of the commitment made by the President to ensure that states get what they deserve to get on a monthly basis.
President Tinubu appealed to Nigerians to continue supporting his administration, saying the continuity of government policies will bring progress and prosperity to the country. Earlier, Governor Abiodun Oyebanji said the Knowledge Zone project will raise education standards and create over 20,000 employment opportunities in research, innovation, and technology.
Like we did with the completion of the airports, we also pursued the actualization of the EKZ dream. This was not just a major foundation of a 30-year development plan. It also aligned with multiple pillars of our 6-point agenda, especially youth development and job creation and human capital development pillars.
On the newly constructed overhead bridge and the EFCC office, Governor Oyebanji noted that the project will ease traffic congestion in Ado Ekiti, enhance security, and strengthen the fight against economic and financial crimes in the southwest. In their submissions, Ekiti State Commissioner for Work, Mr. Shola Adebayo, and his counterpart from the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Akin Oyebode, thanked President Tinubu for approving the inclusion of critical federal road projects in Ekiti State, particularly Tawuri Aramoko Ijeru Ifake Ekiti Road, saying the project will improve connectivity, facilitate commerce, and expand economic opportunities. From Ado Ekiti, Olaniyi Alade, Radio Nigeria.
The Nigerian Railway Corporation (NRC) has clarified that Senator Eder Dafian, representing Delta Central Senatorial District, and former Secretary to the Delta State Government, Mr. Patrick Ukah, were not passengers on the Warri-Itakwe train service involved in the recent accident near Agbo. The clarification is contained in a statement by the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the NRC, Mr. Kayode Okpefa. The development followed an earlier statement that had wrongly suggested that both individuals were on board the affected train. The NRC said the duo instead assisted in supporting emergency response efforts at the scene of the incident. The corporation regretted the earlier error and any embarrassment caused.
Governors of the Northwest region have begun moves to implement a coordinated policy framework aimed at tackling multidimensional poverty through expanded social protection programs and innovative financing mechanisms across the 7 states of the region. The initiative was unveiled in Kano during a 2-day high-level policy dialogue on reducing multidimensional poverty through scaled social protection systems and innovative financing, organized by the Northwest Governors Forum in collaboration with federal government and supported by the European Union (EU) and the United Nations Children's Fund (UNICEF). Speaking at the opening session, Director General of the Northwest Governors Forum Secretariat, Mrs. Mariam Yahaya, said the dialogue marked a critical step towards translating regional commitments into concrete actions and would improve the lives of millions of people. She noted that despite the region's enormous human and economic potential, the Northwest continues to face severe development challenges, including widespread poverty, poor health outcome, insecurity, climate-related vulnerabilities, and a large number of out-of-school children. Declaring the event open in Kano, Governor Abba Yusuf said social protection should be treated not merely as a welfare measure, but as a strategic investment in human capital, social stability, and economic growth. Represented by his deputy, Alhaji Murtala Sule Garo, Governor Yusuf highlighted Kano State steps to institutionalize social protection, including the 2025 Social Protection Policy Law and the establishment of the Social Protection Directorate under the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation.
An environmental expert, Professor Babatunde Bada, has called for increased investment in waste-to-energy initiatives as a sustainable approach to addressing Nigeria's waste management and climate change challenges. Professor Bada of the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, made the call at a function in Abeokuta, Ogun State. Radio Nigeria correspondent Olusegun Folarin reports that 3,500 charcoal cooking stoves were distributed to participants at the event as part of efforts to promote environmental protection and clean energy adoption.
In a lecture titled Refuse-Derived Fuel and Its Value to Climate Action, Professor Bada said converting waste into energy through technologies such as refuse-derived fuel (RDF) would reduce the volume of waste disposed at landfills and lower greenhouse gas emissions. The guest lecturer pointed out that RDF production could support the circular economy by promoting the reuse and conversion of waste materials into alternative energy sources, reduce dependency on conventional waste disposal methods, and enhance environmental sustainability.
RDF pellet provide up to 70% improved combustion performance, reduce landfill dependency, and support circular economy.
Professor Bada identified major challenges hindering the successful implementation of waste-to-energy projects in the country to include poor waste sorting practices, contamination of recyclable materials, limited waste collection systems and financing, as well as weak enforcement of environmental regulations. Speaking at the event, wife of Ogun State Governor Mrs. Bamidele Abiodun said tackling climate change required collective efforts from government, communities and individuals. She urged residents to adopt sustainable practices capable of ensuring a cleaner, healthier and more prosperous future for all. Mrs. Abiodun expressed confidence that increasing adoption of innovative waste management solutions, including refuse-derived fuel technology, would contribute to cleaner energy generation and sustainable economic growth.
Supporting the principles of the circular economy through conversion of waste into valuable energy resources.
In a remark, the Commissioner for Environment, Dr. Ola Oresonya, reaffirmed the state government's commitment to environmental sustainability as a critical component of the developmental agenda of the present administration.
Climate change, urbanization, industrial pollution, deforestation and economic degradation still continues and requires stronger collaboration, innovation and sustained commitment.
Dr. Oresoya said the state government was collaborating with academic institutions, including the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, to develop innovative environmental solutions and strengthen climate action program. In a message to the event, the Director, Department of Climate Change at the Federal Ministry of Environment, Dr. Inibong Abiola Awe, represented by Mrs. Dolapo John Ahigbe, said the federal government was implementing policies and programs aimed at expanding access to clean cooking technologies as part of the effort to combat climate change and promote sustainable development. She explained that the distribution of clean cook stoves was part of Federal Ministry of Environment's initiatives under the Presidential Program on Climate Change, designed to provide safer, healthier and more efficient alternatives to traditional cooking methods. Beneficiaries of the cooking stoves also expressed the hope that the gesture would enable them to contribute towards promoting environmental protection and clean energy adoption in their immediate environment. In Abeokuta, Olusegun Folarin, Radio Nigeria.
All right, thank you very much. Still in Abeokuta, the Speaker of the Ogun State House of Assembly, Mr. Oludaisi Elemide, has reaffirmed the commitment of the 10th Assembly to capacity development for lawmakers. Mr. Elemide stated this while declaring open a capacity development workshop for members of the House at the Assembly Complex, Okemoson, Abeokuta. Described regular training and professional development as vital tools for enhancing legislative performance and preventing stagnation in public service. Mr. Elemide noted that equipping lawmakers with relevant knowledge and skills remains essential for effective lawmaking and quality representation. Also speaking, the Permanent Secretary, Bureau of Service Matters in the Office of the Head of Service, Mr. Oladipupo Ogunfowora, stressed the need for robust engagement in legislative processes to facilitate the enactment of laws and policy frameworks capable of promoting sustainable development and good governance. He also appealed to lawmakers to review and update existing laws in the state to reflect emerging realities while enacting forward-looking legislation capable of addressing future challenges and opportunities.
The Oyo State House of Assembly has called for the immediate strengthening of security across public and private educational schools and other learning institutions in the state following the recent abduction of students and teachers at Community High School Esiele and LA Primary School, Yawota, in Orire local government area. The resolution followed a motion moved by the lawmaker representing Ibadan Southwest State Constituency 2, Mr. Oluwafemi Oluwafowokomi, who urged the executive arm of the government to deploy operatives of the Oyo State Security Network Agency, Amotekun Corps, the Nigerian Police Force, and other security agencies to schools across the state. Moving the motion, Mr. Oluwafowokomi expressed concern that recent security breaches around schools, particularly the disturbing incidents in Orire local government area, had raised serious concerns about the safety of students, teachers, and educational facilities. He noted that public schools are increasingly becoming vulnerable targets for criminal activities, including kidnapping, vandalism, court-related violence, and other forms of insecurity. The lawmaker further argued that the deployment of trained security personnel to schools, particularly those located in rural communities and areas bordering forests, would strengthen surveillance, improve intelligence gathering, and guarantee rapid response to security threats. Lawmakers unanimously urged the executive arm of government through the Amotekun Corps to commence the phased deployment of trained security personnel to public and private primary and secondary schools across the state, with priority attention given to schools located in rural areas, border communities, and locations adjoining forest reserves. As part of broader efforts to safeguard educational institutions, the House urged the establishment of a school security initiative that will provide dedicated security personnel, communication gadgets, emergency alert systems, and other security infrastructure for schools.
The Edo State government has ordered the immediate closure of 3 secondary schools in Akoko Edo local government area following intelligence reports of a kidnap threat against students. The directive is contained in a circular issued by the State Ministry of Education and signed by its permanent secretary, Mr. Enudolo Mwanyi Otamere. Mr. Otamere said the affected schools were Ososo Grammar School, Usoso Comprehensive High School, and Makeke Secondary School. The reports in a memo dated June 5 warned of an alleged plan by suspected bandits to carry out a mass abduction of school children in Edo North Senatorial District. According to the intelligence memo addressed to the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps NSCDC, the DSS intercepted communications between 2 suspected bandits. The 2 suspects allegedly discussed targeting school children after earlier attempts to kidnap wealthy individuals failed to yield expected financial gains.
This is the world today, the stories that made the headlines. NIS has deployed technology against irregular migration. Edo government has ordered closure of 3 secondary schools. Still to come, anti-immigration protests break out in Northern Ireland. Indonesia jails 4 military officers for acid attack on activists. Details shortly.
Glad to know you're still there listening to the news on the world today, the midweek edition. Now to the rest of the package we take off from the foreign scenes. Anti-immigration protesters have burnt down buildings and vehicles in the capital of Northern Ireland a day after a knife attack was captured in a graphic video. Report says some of the protesters marched, gathered at the several locations across Belfast. A bus and several cars were also set on fire, while a building on the edge of the city centre caught fire and its residents had to be evacuated.
Unidentified gunmen have stormed settlements near Johannesburg and shot 12 people, wounding 9 others. A police spokeswoman, Demakatso, said more than 10 armed people were driven to the area and stormed the settlement after 11 o'clock in the night.
An Indonesian military court sentenced 4 officers for their involvement in an acid attack on an activist known for campaigning against the growing role of the army. Presiding Judge Freddy Inasato said one defendant was sentenced to 3 years in jail, the second to 2.5 years, the third to 2 years, and the fourth to 1.5 years. The 4 officers were found guilty on charges of serious premeditated assault after attacking Andre Yunus as deputy coordinator with the Commission for Missing Persons and Victims of Violence. The report says the trial of the 4 accused officers began in April in Jakarta and drew national and international attention. Report says Yunus was attacked on the 12th of March while he was riding a motorbike in the capital, while 2 men on another motorbike threw acid at him, leaving him blind in one eye and with burns on more than 20% of his face and body. According to report, the charges against the soldiers for premeditated assault carried a maximum sentence of 12 years in prison.
In today's Heart of the Matter, Fumilola Obagbayegun of our Current Affairs Unit writes on checking the menace of drug abuse.
Drug abuse has become one of the most pressing social and public health challenges confronting Nigeria. The increasing rate at which young people and adults engage in this misuse of illicit substances poses a serious threat to the nation's health, security, and economic development. The widespread availability of narcotics and other harmful substances has contributed to rising cases of addiction, mental health disorders, criminal activities, and social instability. Reports from relevant authorities indicate that millions of Nigerians abuse drugs, with cannabis remaining the most commonly used illicit substance. The situation is particularly worrisome among young people, many of whom are introduced to drugs through peer pressure, curiosity, unemployment, or the desire to escape difficult economic and social realities. Drug abuse destroys lives, weakens families, fuels crime, and reduces productivity. Young people who fall into addiction often struggle academically, lose career opportunities, and face long-term physical and psychological health challenges. In many cases, drug abuse has been linked to violent crimes, cultism, kidnapping, and other forms of crimes. Addressing this growing menace requires a comprehensive and coordinated approach by government and its relevant agencies. law enforcement agencies must intensify efforts to curb the production, trafficking, and distribution of illicit drugs, while drug cartels and criminal networks involved in the trade must be identified, prosecuted, and brought to justice. However, enforcement alone cannot solve the problem. Prevention remains the most effective strategy. Schools should strengthen drug education programs and create awareness about the dangers of substance abuse. Parents on their part must maintain close relationship with their children, monitor their activities, and provide guidance capable of helping them resist negative influences. Communities, religious organizations, and civil society groups also have important roles to play in educating young people and promoting healthy lifestyles, while public enlightenment campaigns should be sustained to ensure that citizens understand the risk associated with drug abuse. Furthermore, addiction should be treated as a health condition rather than a moral failing. Government at all levels must invest in rehabilitation and counseling centers to provide support for individuals battling substance dependence. Removing the stigma associated with seeking treatment will encourage more people to access professional help and begin the journey to recovery. Ultimately, the fight against drug abuse is a shared responsibility. Government, families, schools, community, leaders and individuals must work together to protect society from the devastating effect of substance abuse. By investing in prevention, strengthening law enforcement, and supporting rehabilitation efforts, Nigeria can effectively check the rising menace of drug abuse and secure a healthier and more productive future for generations to come.
That script on checking the menace of drug abuse was written by Fumilola Opagba of our Current Affairs Unit and read by Dayo Adenuga.
And now to the feature. There is a particular waterfall in Cross River State. Let's join Munyolua Folabi for the details of this waterfall.
Agbokim Waterfalls is situated some 17 kilometers from Ikom, a local government areas of Cross River State that's not far from the Nigerian-Cameroon border. Agbokim Waterfalls, which consists of 7 streams, each cascading over steep cliff, provides 7-faced falls and is about 315 kilometers from Calabar. Agbokim Waterfalls is actually on the Cross River, where it descends in terraces through the tropical rainforest. Agbokim Waterfall is surrounded by the lush greenery, valleys and steep hills, which are enveloped in a rainbow-like aura. Its freshness is captivating and has an alluring serenity. This is a spectacular falling sheet of water, attractive and impressive tourist spots, and a highly recommended place for picnics. It has also been described as the ideal location for vacation and for getting back into nature. Agbokim Waterfalls is most spectacular during the rainy season, as there is an opportunity of seeing the rainbow across the face of the waterfall. Its proximity to neighboring Cameroon also offers a unique opportunity for cross-border experience.
That feature on Agbokim Waterfall was written by Grace Ojo.
And to end the news on the world today from the stable of Radio Nigeria, here again are the day's top stories. The Nigerian Immigration Service (NIS) has strengthened its border security through advanced technology, deployment and enhanced surveillance to curb irregular migration and migrant smuggling across the country's borders. The Edo State government has ordered the immediate closure of 3 secondary schools in Akoko Edo local government area following intelligence reports of a kidnap threat against students. Anti-immigration protesters have burnt down buildings and vehicles in the capital of Northern Ireland a day after knife attack was captured in a graphic video. An Indonesian military court has sentenced 4 officers for their involvement in an acid attack on an activist known for campaigning against the growing role of the army.
And that's it on the news on the world today. For today, to join us tomorrow for a fresh edition of the program, Modupe Toba edited. I am Feyi Shara Owomoyela, thanking you for listening from my colleague
Stephen Agbaje, do have the greatest evening.